Hey, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the Writer's Bookshelf. And we are on our 12th episode today. And today we are covering The Brick. The Brick being Robert McKee's story. Big fatty here. We're going to talk about that in a minute. I want to first start by saying if you've been following the saga of the man with his coffee, I want to say that the man with his coffee is finally out of coffee. I just took the last drop. So the coffee cup is now empty after 12 weeks. So congratulations for sticking with the story. It's a happy ending, but actually it's kind of bittersweet because, again, it's an empty cup and it's 10 o'clock at night right now. It should be empty and I got to be up early in the morning. So I probably don't want a full cup of coffee at this time of night, but I like my coffee. What can I say? I enjoy my coffee and it's empty. So now we're going to do this video with no coffee. So that story's over. I hope it was worth it. I hope you liked it. But anyway, now for the real story. Robert McKee's story. And again, if you are not familiar with the series, go back a few steps, check out the introduction and talk all about it in the beginning. I don't really want to keep spending 10 minutes of video time re-explaining myself. So if you haven't seen the introduction of this series, go ahead and watch that and then come back to this and then watch the other 11 episodes while you're at it. It'll only take you an hour, maybe more. I don't actually know how much time I've been working on this. It might be 2 hours by now. But yeah, we're going to be working on story today. Now, you'll see that the subtitle is Substance, Structure, Style, and the Principles of Screenwriting. It is a book about screenwriting, but novelists can use it too. In fact, I learned about this book by learning how to edit novels. So it's still something that I think is worth it. As I mentioned in the last video, I have not finished this book, and I bought it, I think, in 2016, 2017, 3 years ago. I'm still reading it. I'm literally, I don't even think I finished the chapter I'm on. Yeah. This is where I am. I'm literally like in the middle of a chapter. It's because each chapter is long. It's like really long. But, but I'm on page 270. 270 out of, let's see here. It's almost 500 pages. It's like 400. Yes, 460 pages with the index. So there's a lot of content here, but listen, this book, you don't have to read it in one sitting. If you're really determined to get to the end, you'll get there. But here's the thing. Here's why I'm putting it on my list. Robert McKee is one of the smartest story coaches there is. He's the guy that, if you've ever seen that movie adaptation with Nicolas Cage, Robert McKee, I believe, if my memory holds right, Robert McKee is the guy that Malcolm McDowell plays in the book as the one that Nicolas Cage is trying to learn from. Robert McKee is the guy that the Academy Award winners go to for advice when they don't know how to resolve a story or when they don't know what they should do next. He's the guy they go to figure out how to get out of a jam. That's Robert McKee. He's a legend in the industry. I honestly don't care how far in this book you get. Anything he writes should be on your bookshelf, period. Because very few people are as brilliant at this as he is. He's not accessible. One of the reasons why it takes a while to get through his book is because he's high level. He's a very highbrow writer. He's not the kind of guy. He's not like Larry Brooks, where Larry Brooks speaks to you as a layman, I wouldn't say a friend, but like Larry Brooks, he reaches you at your level. Wherever you are, he uses plain language to make sure you get it. Robert McKee does not do that. Robert McKee, he is educated, and he reveals that pretty clearly in his writing. So you are going to probably read it a little slower, and not to mention you have other than, besides nicely formatted parts in the story and all that with quotes and everything. I mean, you have trains of dialogue you have to get through. You have more dialogue to get through. I mean, you have entire scenes you're reading through, and then you have to go back and see how that applies to the lesson he's giving you. But the lessons he gives you are really important. Things like mastery of genre. Something that every writer should know how to do, especially if you're going to write in the same genre at some point you want to show that you know what you're doing. So like Save the Cat, Robert McKee covers genre, and he talks about like different types of, like, right here, comedy. He gives you the different types of comedy and then different types of drama, historical drama, whatever you're writing. Like, he gives you an overview of not only what types of comedies or genre, social dramas, whatever there are, but he gives you examples of what fits into those genres. He gives you kind of not a blueprint, but it gives you a snapshot of what might fit into that genre, so that you yourself can kind of figure out how your own story fits into the genre you're going for. So like with a comedy, his example is comedy subgenres range from parody to satire to sitcom to romantic to screwball to farce to black comedy, all differing by the focus of comic attack, like bureaucratic folly, upper class manners, teenage courtship, etc., and the degree of ridicule, like gentle, caustic, lethal. So, like, a good example of that would be Caddyshack. If you've never seen Caddyshack, go watch it now. I think it's on Tubi or one of those. I don't actually know where it's at, but I'm sure one of the streaming services probably has it. It's literally about social classes clashing. It's a great movie, but it's just hysterical. It goes through like the 80s tropes and all that, but it's it's a sure comedy by its levity, it's situational comedy, subverting the expectations you'd have. Classic would be Bill Murray, hitting flowers with a golf club as if he's golfing, and just thinking he's like this hot shot golfer and he's just the groundskeeper. Things like that. It's just it's hysterical, but it goes into many of all the elements that you need in order to really know your anchor, like where your position as a writer. It really, I think it's a good grounding tool, this book. If you feel lost at any point, if after you've read all those other books that I recommended, if you still feel like, I don't know, it's not landing, give this one a try. This may end up answering the question you haven't had answered yet, because it's literally answers everything from what I can see. It's a shame that I'm taking so long to get through it, because it's real easy to forget what he wrote. But he breaks down, it's like in the hero's journey too. Hero's journey talks about the 12 steps. He has also the 12, or the different steps, like crisis, climax, resolution. So one thing I said early in the series is that at some point you're going to find that all these books overlap. I hope that by now you're seeing that's true. Most of story structure is not a complicated thing, but it is something that you have to know it in order to use it, and you don't want to try to remember what it is while you're writing, because at some point you're going to get stuck if you forgot the rules. So one of the reasons why we're doing this series is so that you will get the overlap, so that you will get stuck in here, so when it comes time to write and evaluate what you've written, you don't have to go back and refresh your memory of what story structure is. It's there. You remembered it because it's based on your experience, or it's based on something you've already learned and put to practice many times. And so I always find I get inspired after I've read a book on writing, or a craft book or a character book or something. It makes me want to go back and do it again. And even the videos that you can find on YouTube. I just watched on Friday. Again, I'm pre-recording all of this, so this is still early September for me. I just watched one of Mark Dawson's his SPF series, self-publishing formula, and the author they just had on, what's his name? I think it's Stephen Flip, maybe. I don't remember his name now, but he's like this, former military guy who, basically didn't do any of this. Everything that we're doing, he didn't do the studying, reading. He doesn't, he just writes, and he actually has a, really pretty lucrative career doing what I used to do, which kind of makes me a little jealous, because like I used to not read or structure, or I used to just write, and dude's making a killing off of that. So good for him. But it got me inspired to go back and work on this. This was originally gonna be a solo novel, but now it'll probably be a trilogy that I've had in my mind for almost 10 years. I just thought, what, let's time to let me just do this thing, and it inspired me to go ahead and just buckle down and write it. And so that's what I did. And I'm doing all these in one. So the story that I gave you in part 1 is still true right now. I still haven't gone back and written the next chapter. But I, nevertheless, like, it made me want to write the story, because I think that's going to be my, KU book. It's going to be my, see if it works book. And so the reason I'm bringing that up is because you can find inspiration in anything. And I find inspiration in these books that we're covering, because they teach me new things. Even though they recycle ideas that other books have shown me, they still, they approach it in ways that maybe I haven't thought of before. And so there's always that one new way of thinking about it that, like, oh, that's actually not a bad way of looking at it. And you learn, it sticks with you better. That's why, like, last week's snowflake method, that was the one that stuck with me. I thought, okay, I think I get it. Like, I think this is what I want. But, one of my greatest struggles is with character motivation. And I have a book on that I'm probably not going to cover this season because I haven't read it yet. I don't know. I can't tell you what's in it because I don't know what's in it. But I have it, and it'll probably be, I'll probably get to it, if not the next series, the one after that. But when we find books that cover the areas that we're not as good at, or that we're not as familiar with, it's worth it to pick it up. And going back to today's book story, I'm pretty sure this book's going to cover any question you have, because it's 500 pages, and again, it's from a genius. It's from one of the greatest experts of our time. And so I don't have a lot to say about the book's content. Again, this series is about recommendations. It's not about, if you want to know what's in the book, you have to read it. And I want to emphasize, I know every so often I'll get comments, in a video that explain, it says, well, you didn't tell me what I wanted to know. Well, I told you what I want you to know. That's the key. I'm not telling you, if you want to learn what's in the book, you have to read it. But what I want you to make sure you understand is that this book, it's full of genre tropes. It's full of, let's look at the contents. Some of the things we do is contents. Part 1, writer and art of the story. The story problem. Part 2, elements of the story. Structure, setting, genre, character, meaning. Part 3, 135 pages into the book, principles of story design. That's where we go into structure, like substance, inciting incident, act design, scene design, and so on. And remember, don't forget, this is based on screenwriting, but you can apply it to novels. The writer at work, the principle of antagonism. I think this is past my point where I am, so I don't know what that's going to cover, but it's there in the content. Exposition, problems and solutions, characters. So it's addressing, like, how to actually address any problem that comes up in the book. And then, of course, you have all of your supplemental stuff, like suggested readings, filmography, and index. So it's very substantial, and like the writer's journey that I showed you a few weeks ago, this is also a nice looking book to have on your bookshelf. I'm not sure if there's a paperback version. I think the hardcover is the only one they really made. So again, it's gonna be a $35 book. $40 book. Wow. Did I spend $40 on this? I guess so. It's a $40 book. But again, it doesn't leave any stone unturned. So again, cliche alert 101. But yeah, check it out. Again, I don't know of anyone who actually finished it. It's that thick and that dense, but that's a good thing, because that there's always going to be something new to discover in it. So as usual, if you've read it, tell me, leave in the comments, tell us what you think. Did you think it was overrated, or it was exactly what you needed? What do you think of Robert McKee? Have you seen Adaptation with Nicolas Cage? Have you read Robert McKee's other books? He's got one called Dialogue. That's again, based on screenwriting, but it's about dialogue. Check it out if you haven't already. I don't own that one, so I'm not going to cover that this round. But someday I may. Like the video, subscribe. It's loud. Subscribe to the channel. Do all the things that YouTubers tell you to do, and don't pick your nose in public. And I don't know if they tell you that, but you shouldn't do that. The usual stuff. And come back next week, Friday, 10 o'clock. Eastern Standard Time. Come back after work if you work instead of watching videos at 10 o'clock. And we will do another book, and I have to figure out which one we're going to do. So it'll be another surprise. So until then, enjoy your day and your week.